awesome talk, awesome talk. We got some awesome talk today. Awesome talk, oh, awesome talk. You all like the way we talk. It's awesome, awesome talk, oh, awesome talk. You like the way we awesome talk. It's awesome talk, fucking awesome talk. You like the way we talk. It's fucking awesome. Ooh, yeah.
Like here's an example. One person, hi, we're live, but I'm not going to finish what I was saying.
No, finish what you're saying.
One person had said that they tore a ligament, and they in the subreddit they screenshot a conversation that the person had in comments under one of their pictures in regards to having torn a ligament, and someone had asked them something like, well, how are you going to manage it or something, and the other person said, like, I'm just going to fucking have to deal with it and do, she was talking about like taking a walk or something, and I just have to fight through it, something about just continuing on. And like the people were like rolling their eyes at the possibility of this, but people that have chronic illnesses constantly go, on the days that I feel well enough to do it, I know that I'm going to pay the price later. But if I don't do things on that day, I don't know when I'll have another opening. It's completely fucking normal in a person with a chronic illness to constantly have to decide if this activity is worth me being in bed for a couple days. But these people are seeing it as that she's fucking faking it because no one would ever do that if they were really in that much pain. And it's infuriating because just because you don't fucking live with the experience of constant pain and having to decide when to sacrifice your future self for doing something for an hour that day, you're calling that person a fucking faker. It's infuriating beyond belief because I've been called lazy for needing a wheelchair. So like I completely fucking see how this fuels all of those beliefs. It's awful. It's just an echo chamber of people telling other people that their investigations are right. It's so sick that this is a thing that exists. It's fucking disgusting.
I feel like the internet has all these dark alleyways where people just choose other people to hate, and then everybody climbs into that alleyway and they're like, yeah, I get to fucking hate this person, because it's like not okay for me to hate this person openly, so I get to do. There's just something. I think some people just get off on that fucking level of being a troll asshole. Like, that episode of South Park where not Randy, what's Kyle's dad's name?
Stan. Right?
Kyle's dad?
Yeah.
Fucking Gerald
Broflovsky, right?
I think
he's the guy that goes on the internet and trolls, right, during the election.
Yeah, he's the fucking asshole that nobody can figure out.
And like the way he sits there and just gets off on it.
What was his name? What was his screen name? Like cunt. Fucking. It was like. I have to fucking look it up.
Stan cunt.
Yeah. Dude, did you remember that, or did you look it up faster than me?
No, I just remember it. South Park's like on all the time. It's ridiculous.
I understand.
I'm kind
We
of
used
tired
to
of
have
South
it on
Park.
constantly for a while, and then we had to like put it on pause for a little bit because it was like constant.
Yeah, it's still like that. It's like nonstop on Comedy Central and shit. It's
Dude,
weird.
they just signed on for
14 movies.
14 movies and up through season 30. Yeah. Paramount Plus signed them for 14 independent South Park movies.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Good for them.
I wondered if
more needed.
I didn't see it specified, so I'm not really sure what they mean by it, but I was wondering if by the 14 movies thing, they meant like the pandemic special thing that they did. Like those were all like movie length specials, and I wonder if that's what that means or if it means like movie releases. Like who the fuck would do that? Why would you do that?
Yeah. I hope they do another pandemic special because that was really funny.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to. Like, you can't ignore it. Everything they do is pretty much in line with what's going on at
Yeah.
the moment, and the fucking pandemic's not going anywhere, so
No.
they're gonna probably have to address it.
It's not. Oh man. Yeah.
Liking that shirt, Rick.
Dude.
Thank you. I wondered if anybody was going to mention my shirt.
You just wore it to bait people into asking you, didn't you?
Oh, no. You know, I mean, well, maybe a little bit, but
What is up? What the hell is that on the screen?
what's what?
Oh, okay.
Looks like an old BBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why does it look like fucking monotype?
I hate that font.
Fucking, like, I have a weird love for monotype, but I still am baffled by why I thought that's what I was seeing.
I like that type. I might be the only one.
No, I like it. I just don't fucking usually see it.
How's that?
No, I like the other one better. The
Ah,
other one looks like like the Pokemon like loading screen, like when you're like talking to people,
yeah.
and it go through. That's what it
I don't
looks like.
see anything different. But I'm looking. Are you guys looking at Facebook? Because I'm looking at the Skype window.
Choose
I'm looking at Skype.
choose system font. Choose system font. That way you can do like
I
ASCII
wonder why
code,
nothing
little smiley
changed.
faces.
Ah, the good old days.
Do little ASCII art in there.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. You just fucking sit there line after line for like a whole hour, and then it turns out it's like a laughing Nicolas Cage, but just with a bunch of fucking letters.
I used to make ASCII art every once in a while.
Did you make any beauties?
Just a couple things for a few groups back in the day.
Is someone popping bubble wrap or something?
Not anywhere near me.
Like,
You
you
can
hear
hang
it,
the
right?
chair over
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Wait, you have a tattoo, Pat? I
Yeah.
feel like I've seen them in the background, like running around.
Yep. Yeah, I got a cat. Found her on the engine of my car.
Oh.
Yep.
You know
What's
what's
your
sad?
name?
Oh yeah, what's her name?
I guess we don't get to know
Yeah,
that.
we're not cool enough to know. I was
What's
gonna say.
her,
Oh no, you go.
what's her name, Pat?
A little bit.
Oh. There's a lot of people now who are, you know how like in the middle, like the beginning of the pandemic, people bought or got animals, like adopted.
Yeah.
A lot of people, predictably, are sending all those animals back to the shelter.
Oh,
which is,
come
like,
on, man. That's
I know.
fucking awful.
horrible. Like, why?
Why?
Don't get a pet if you can't keep it. That's
I
like a
don't-
lifetime
It's
commitment.
like the people that give their kids rabbits for Easter.
I was
It's
just
like,
gonna say that. I was talking
Yeah.
it's
about
not
that
gonna
last night.
fucking last.
Yeah, I was just talking about that like last night to somebody, and that's a big deal.
It's such a bizarre
Yeah.
compulsion too, because like, let's be honest, kids are rough. They'll pull tails, like they pet hard. They don't understand the pressure that they're putting on an animal. And it's like rabbits are the most finicky, hard attacky. Like, why would you give a child the most dainty, fucking fragile animal? It's like
Yeah.
the worst choice.
Yeah, you remember they get like wet tail too. If they get left out in the rain or something,
I
Yeah.
have no
tail
idea
like
what the
rots
fuck
off and they die.
What? What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't leave your rabbit out overnight.
I don't know how
Dude,
they survived in
That's
the
like
wild.
when your
to be
fucking
honest.
houseplants get root rot.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rabbits get root rot. I
Yeah.
can't even
They do.
say that
When they
straight.
just leave their cage and they have like no room to move around, like these people cages are. They're like tiny little fucking boxes they leave them in, so they can't like move around and dry off if they want.
So wet tail is like the bed sore of the rabbit world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you die from bed sores. They can be incredibly bad for you, but like, I don't know if they can fucking kill you, but the rabbit just dies. I mean, everything kills rabbits, dude. You can like sneeze and the rabbit's dead. Like, how the fuck do you give that to a fucking kid? Just because it's some made up stupid ass holiday.
I know, and the kid holds it all wrong and like shakes it and runs across the room with it
or
and
like
falls
for
with it.
some reason, like the other thing is like baby chicks, which is like even more bizarre because like why are you giving barnyard animals to like a kid in the middle of like, you know, suburban USA? Like it's so weird.
That is super weird. Yeah, there's a lot of people, oddly enough, like in the city who have like wild exotic animals.
So weird.
Like tigers, alligators. Like there was like a couple
fuck
years
with
back.
An alligator.
I
Holy
know.
Shit.
There was a couple years back. They arrested this guy for having like 3 lions or like something crazy. I don't know exactly what it was. But it was like lions and tigers and like a python. Like how do you do that? Like how do you where do these people get access to get these animals? Is what I want to know. Like,
yeah, right. Like there has
alligator?
to be a whole fucking stupid, shitty ass subreddit where people are treating this dumbass shit. I don't know. When I was little and I lived in Brooklyn, I just remember that I had a turtle and a bunch of snails. And now that I'm an adult and looking back on it, I'm like, how the fuck and why the fuck did we have a bunch of snails? Like, I like vividly remember owning a bunch of snails, and like now I'm like, my parents were not the type of parents to be like, let's buy some snails. So like, I don't understand how that was acquired now that I fucking think about it.
There was a phase at my house where I would see snail trails everywhere, but I would never see the snails. Like, they were never there.
You had like,
what?
There was tons of them too. It was like every day there was like, you could see them glistening in the sun, the little trail they leave. It's weird.
You had like, they were like the future snails that evolved to fucking become invisible, so no dumbasses would take them back to their apartments.
Yep.
Or the snails were just going real fast.
Ghost snails.
Never found a shell either, like a dead one or nothing.
Dude, like we had a fucking pet turtle in this apartment, and we still have no idea what happened to him.
What?
He vanished. Hardcat is gone.
Oh.
He fucking vanished, and there's no shell, there's no body, there's no smell. He just fucking disappeared. And it sucks, because he was awesome.
I just want to adjust the chat and say hi to Chill Smith, and Joshua's in the chat. Joshua says dumb fucks use them as service animals and try to bring them into the supermarkets.
What, rabbits?
Yeah.
Dude,
no.
A rabbit is too skittish and like
shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, listen, I've seen people that have pet rabbits that are like closer to being like what you would maybe consider cuddly or whatever, but they're still like not biologically okay with like humanity, like loudness and like, you know, everyday life noises and shit like that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I want to know who like really brought an emotional support rabbit into a supermarket, though.
And I'm wondering
I want to know
also
what kind
if
of
it's
person
like,
you are.
I'm also wondering what kind of rabbit it is. Like one of those fucking giant ass rabbits, or if it's like just a tiny little bunny.
Yeah, because rabbits can get really big. Too.
Oh my god, just
they can
fucking
get
huge. Like they look like they're in the Arctic, like those types of rabbit. Like they look like something you could ride with like a rabbit sleigh.
People did that with pigs too. Like people were buying little pot-bellied pigs and then like finding out that like later on they're like 200. They're 200 pounds now, and people were actually like getting rid of them.
It's ridiculous because like they know they're being told like they get this big, like you have to be okay and equipped for that. And I think people just don't believe it. Like, well, if I don't feed him a lot, he couldn't possibly get that big. Like, you are so stupid.
That's not how that works.
That's like buying a fucking horse and not expecting it to be a horse one day.
Oh man.
Like if I keep the foal in this crate, it's not gonna get horse sized.
No. You know who kept their pet pig though? Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton bought what would have been what was supposed to be a miniature pig that ended up being really big, and she kept it.
Yo,
And she,
Paris
like,
Hilton's
took care
way
of it.
cooler than she gets credit for.
100. I
100%.
agree, and I said that for when in the early 2000s when people hated her. I was like, this girl is not a bad person. She knows what she's doing. She's very smart.
Did you see the documentary she made? It's
I
on
did
YouTube.
not.
It's so fucking. So the documentary is about this, like, she went to like this famous boarding school, and it's famous because of a bunch of people that have come out and said they were abused there. And the documentary is basically about the abuse, and not only that, but they don't just send you to this boarding school. The process to which you get taken to it is they come into your house in the middle of the night and they pull you out of your bed as if you're being kidnapped while you're screaming because you don't know what's happening, and your parents are just fucking standing there like, later. It's fucking awful. It's like, holy shit. Well, like, from where she was at, she was literally being kidnapped. Like, she didn't know that she wasn't being kidnapped.
By the way, that's some real rich people shit too. No poor people
Yeah.
can pay a service to kidnap their kid and drag their kid somewhere and, you know, put it through like some sort of weird boot camp.
Well, they do have like those the Beyond Scare Straight and like the sheriff programs where they like bring kids into prisons and like scream at them all day.
Dude, that was a big fucking thing in the 90s talk shows. Like, was it Montel Williams was the one that had like a whole bunch of that shit? Like, where like there would be like a bunch of teenagers that weren't doing what they were told, and like some guy would come and scream like a quarter of an inch away from their face and then send them to some, and they're like crying, like, yeah, that was like a whole fucking series of talk shows in the 90s.
Our school used to do that.
What do you mean?
They would take the trouble kids to like the local jail and have them.
How did they define trouble?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think that there's a big broad spectrum of trouble.
Kids that were caught doing shit.
So kids who have troubled families and troubled lives.
How do you define doing shit?
Yeah. Hey, your dad might beat the shit out of you, and your mom might be a piece of shit to you. But just so you're clear, we're gonna take you to a jail where a bunch of criminals are gonna scream at you on top of all of it. This is gonna make for a human being that's really balanced. I think.
I think also like probably sexualize you quite a bit. Like,
probably,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
they're probably yelling all sorts of shit in your face.
Definitely.
Yeah, none of that shit's rehabilitative either. I mean, it's like, why can't you just be normal?
It's not,
therapy.
it's not rehabilitative if someone's doing it out of fear that they're gonna be beaten. That's not rehab.
No. But that's like prison in general in the U.S. too.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
That's a really good point.
No, it's got nothing to do with rehabilitation. It's all about revenge. That's what the prison system's really about. It's vengeance, not rehabilitation. You go up to like fucking like Switzerland and shit like that, and like if you go to jail, you get like an apartment, and like they teach you how to farm and do dishes and like cook and shit, and then like they release you back into the world with like skills, and like people are proud of you, even if you're like the worst, most deplorable piece of shit. They still do that for you, and they have like we have a rate of like 88% or something of people going back to jail, and they have a rate of like 16. Like look at the difference, like when you use humanity instead of, you know, beatings.
Yeah. You know? I mean, it's crazy. Like if you think about it too, like all the shit that goes down that they don't ever really, like the sexual assaults that happen in prisons, not to mention the fact that like they still put trans women in men's prisons, and they still put trans men in like women's prisons, and how that's just like a whole, I mean, we could talk about that for hours, how fucked up that is, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, like whenever I used to see those shows like Beyond Scare Straight, I was like, I don't know how good is this really doing?
Yeah,
like
how effective is
this doesn't seem.
I've never seen that. before.
Oh,
like,
it's wild,
is
dude.
it very Montel Williams-y with the screaming and the threatening? Is it like that kind of thing?
So yeah, it's essentially the same thing. Like they just take a bunch of kids who like are like, you know, in like bad shit, like fighting or like doing drugs.
I always thought that
stuff like
Scared
that.
Straight was just people on drugs. I had no idea it was like a whole
No,
bunch
it's all
of
kinds
different.
of different
It's all
things.
kinds of shit.
And all
Oh,
ages too.
Yeah.
And here's how fucked up our country is too. Our country's so fucked up that the first Scared Straight movie that was made,
Didn't that come out like in the 70s?
yeah,
or
70s or 80s or something, it was really old.
And when did
And
the
it's-
second one?
Yeah, and it's fucking crazy. And
So wait, when did the second one come out?
don't know.
Okay.
But here they allowed it to be shown on regular TV uncensored because they thought it was so important for kids to see this. So like you have to imagine turning on channel 5 and a prisoner standing there going, "Hey, you fucking little prick," but on channel 5 on like a Tuesday night. And they were like, this is permissible to do this because this is so good. Yeah.
Dude, I thought that
They aired that on TV.
she was basically, I thought that the first one I thought was a movie, which it is, I think. But what Kristen was saying, that there's a second one, I thought it was like a movie. It's a fucking 12 episode long TV show that was made
I'm
in
talking about
2012?
something different. I'm talking
Yeah,
about something
no,
different.
it's still going on. Yeah,
I
no,
thought
it's
the
still going
sequel
on.
was like, oh, probably in the 90s they redid it. It's an A&E fucking documentary series in 2012 with 2 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, you think about that, and then you think about how they won't allow like putting a woman on TV breastfeeding her child, but they'll show like grown adults screaming and be.
I'm gonna just read the description of just a random episode that I scrolling because I'm scrolling past the list of episodes on Amazon Prime where apparently you can, I guess, watch it. Episode 7, season 2. After being mobbed by a cell block of screaming inmates, and at-risk teens from St. Clair, Illinois are shocked when the terror follows them outside the jail. What about that sounds healthy to the child with problems who they are identifying as at risk?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we call not addressing the actual problem.
Exactly.
It's called addressing the symptoms but not the problem, but thinking you're addressing the problem.
It's just entertainment. It's entertaining to watch these kids go through all this shit. And that's the fucked up part about it. It's like no one, I mean, there's all kinds of shit. Like 9 times out of 10, these kids have been through such traumatic events in their lives and they have no support system. They have no way of just dealing with that trauma. And rather than like putting them through an intensive therapeutic program, or like having people, not even therapy, not even traditional therapy, but just having people like invest in them and like give them a chance. This is like the last resort where they just get thrown on for entertainment purposes. They're throwing kids in jail and having them be screamed at and be hit and I personally, I think it's abuse. I think they're putting child abuse on TV.
Of course it is. Yeah.
I feel the same way about the fucking toddlers and tiaras bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
You have a fucking bikini contest for a 7-year-old with a bunch of fucking 50-year-old judges, and you tell me that shit's not fucking just exploiting children and sexualizing children? Like, it's so disgusting. Like, all of this is exploitation of children in one way or another for some reason or another. Oh my God, like I'm just reading through the fucking episode descriptions and I'm just like, wow, and adults watch this and and the worst part is adults have this on and they look at their kid and they're like, see what'll happen?
They tell their kid to come in the room and watch it.
Yeah, they think it's fucking justified because it's like, see, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to be like that.
Hey, guess what, Mom and Dad? If you're not a piece of shit, I probably won't end up like that. Thanks, because that's where it all is. That's all you guys.
Yeah, I mean I think another big thing that people don't talk about too is just like a lot of these kids are from like impoverished areas,
Yeah.
and I don't want to throw the blame 100% on parents, because poverty in and of itself is traumatic, and like waking up and not knowing if you're going to eat later on in the day is a
100% right.
traumatic
You're
experience.
100% right.
And
Yeah.
and like these parents, like, if you're so like you can't just like you can't parent effectively if you're worried about where your next fucking paycheck is going to come
Right.
from,
No, you're
or if you're going to
absolutely
be
right.
able to feed your kids,
Right.
or do any of that. And so I feel like a lot of this shit that they put on these shows, I would say 80 to 90% of it, if they just had programs where they would help these parents, or if they had, decent
Sure.
food programs where kids wouldn't even go into lunch school debt, which is wild to me that we still do that. We literally
Yeah.
charge kids and like tell them, well, you can't eat today because you haven't paid your lunch debt off.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is insane. And I think that I saw something recently where they're going to take kids away from their parents because the school lunch debt is so high. Like, that is traumatic.
Yeah.
Like, that is a traumatic experience. And these kids, I think people don't realize that they act out because they're living in poverty, and that's not
I don't even
okay.
understand
Right.
how it's hard to understand that that's the reality. Like living in poverty is basically being re-traumatized every day, and like that's, I thought, public understanding. But then we put them on a fucking TV show and then just scream in their faces, like have a bunch of murdered, like serial killers, like waving their fists at them and fucking like threatening them because they like stole money out of their mom's purse or some shit, or fucking whatever they did. God.
No, Kristen, I totally agree with you too, man. Because no, I'm wrong. It's not always the parents' fault.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess when I said that, I was thinking about the type of people who sit around and watch those things, and I feel like a lot of it is suburban white parents, like sit around, like, and they're like, "Come in here, kids, have a look," and they're just pieces of shit. But then I think about the kids that are actually on the show, and a lot of kids who find themselves in that position and end up there. You're right. They come from
really bad.
Bringing them to jail, having them screamed at, is not addressing the issues that they're actually dealing with that put them in the position in the first fucking place. It's like putting a Band-Aid over an axe wound. Like, it's not solving the problem. You're 100%
I
right.
imagine it's going to make things worse. Like, I mean, like I said, I have not seen any Scared Straight, and I'm in my mind, I'm just thinking about like those talk shows that I talked about because I feel like they sound similar. And like at the end of a lot of those episodes, the kid would suddenly be like wearing like a fucking polo shirt and like nice laundered pants with like nice combed hair and like
trousers. He's wearing trousers.
And the girls would suddenly not be wearing lipstick anymore because that was a big indicator of something shady.
Yeah.
Like,
no more tube tops.
Yeah, like she looked like she's wearing like a fucking church dress and shit. And it's like, when I see that, I'm like, they didn't change. They're fucking literally scared you're going to keep like violently coming at them. Like, nothing has changed. And so like when that fucking switch is flipped again when they're home and they're like, well, there isn't a fucking drill sergeant around, they're gonna change. And in fact, this brings up a memory because there were episodes where they would go back to kids and like the drill sergeant would go back to their house and wake them up like screaming at them because it was like, I'm always gonna come back if you fuck up, and like, holy shit.
And what they don't tell you is that most of the kids that go through those programs end up 2, 3, 4 times more likely to commit violent crimes later on. So it doesn't do shit. It's literally
it's like the DARE program.
Yeah,
like
it does nothing.
That dude that fucking did all those shows on like Montel Williams, it was like the same guy every time, almost, a boot camp guy. I kind of want to fucking find him and like put him, ask him to come on Awesome Talk and be like, dude, do you regret or even understand the damage that may have caused
just put him
now,
on blast.
like years later? Like, or do you firmly believe that you made the world a better place by doing that? Like, I really wonder, because I feel like with that much distance between the when it took place and now, like, you have to look back at it and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, holy shit, that doesn't look good. It doesn't fucking look right.
Yeah, no.
It's a bad look.
It is a very bad look.
It's a bad look.
Yeah. But I think if we just, like, I don't know, man, implemented better social welfare programs.
Is anybody losing hope for that? Like, I kind of feel like we've kind of dealt with, like, it's hundreds of years of pushback, hundreds of years of fighting for civil rights for people that seem obvious to me. And, like, nothing ever seems to get better. Not really. And it's like, why is it so hard to make these choices? And I think it's hard because the wrong people have all their money in places that hurt all of us. And it's very hard to combat that. And some days I feel really helpless about all of this shit. How do we solve these? How do you change a prison system?
So you have okay. I'll give you two examples. You have Cuomo's, I believe, brother-in-law that makes from a nonprofit organization.
Wait, whose brother-in-law?
Cuomo.
Okay.
Cuomo. Yeah. His brother-in-law, I believe it's his brother-in-law, makes $500,000 a year off a nonprofit organization that puts people in these what looks like jail cells, but it's a homeless shelter, and it costs like $3,500 to $4,000 a month to house these people in this place, and it's a literal shithole. And so, like, you know, you got this profit motive in this nonprofit organization. So you have these people that are in those positions that are terrible, and that we continue to just accept as being part of the system. And they, you know, these people got voted in. But then you have other people, like there's this dude out in California that takes donations. He originally, I think he started on Craigslist, and he takes donations, and an insane amount of the donations go to him actually getting, like, building care packages for homeless people. And he goes out and he hands out the packages, and it's like some like 95 or 90, and it's just a one-man operation out of his garage. And he just, the more money he gets, the more he invests in generating these care packages, where, you know, it has like the shower spray, like the showerless shower spray, you know, like the waterless shampoo and different soaps and essential oils and clean socks and underwear and stuff like that. And he just hands the stuff out to people. So those are really the places that we should be putting our money, is in the people that have proven track records in those, in those where it's completely outside of this system that we want to try and rely on, where we vote these idiots in. You know, I would love to see all of us turn our backs on these morons one day.
I just think it's hard, Stones. Like, I feel like it's the reason I'm starting to feel kind of hopeless in it is because, you know, half the country is willing to vote for all of us to die of a disease or vote for Donald Trump or do this shit. And I don't know how to fix any of that.
You're seeing is no. I don't think it's as ununited as the way that you say that it is. Only because you're right. I think what you're seeing is people united against a system that they know is extremely corrupt, to allow the Cuomos of the world to persist, and they don't want to have to pay for it anymore. But I think that if people were given the choice to where their money goes, they'd much rather it go to the guy in his garage putting these care packages together. I don't know. I think a large section of the population that do vote against what you think is, you know, your right path also feel that they're just voting against the corruption that comes along with your path, you know.
But how much insanity am I supposed to accept from that? What percentage is okay before I start going, you know?
Well, I also think that like this exploitation on TV and at the cost of, you know, children, disabled people, you know, just a bunch of people that are dealing with being outcast in some way. Like, I almost don't really think it matters who's in charge. It's like feeding this sickness almost. And I'm not sure what makes society less sick. Well, I do. I say it all the time. Empathy has to be something actively taught in our education at a young age. Like, if we all grew up with that level of empathy to a point where we really thought about how other people felt, I don't think we could just sit there and watch this and be like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it wouldn't be on the air because nobody would give it the time for it to be on the air, and they wouldn't have sponsors making commercials that air at that time, and networks would drop those fucking shows. Like how bad would your kid have to be? What would the line be where your kid did something bad enough, according to you, that you would be okay with them going into a program like that? Like, can you think of anything that was
a program like what, though? What do you mean? Like
a
Scared
program,
Straight.
Yeah, like something like along those lines.
Like a Scared Straight? I mean, I think that people, if your kid has an issue that you want to be addressed, I think people look for options. And I think that, that's one. I don't, just because I don't agree with that option doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't know. It's hard to, it's an option that's out there. Has it worked for some people? The storyline is that it has. And so, people rely on that. People trust in those success stories.
Well, do you think that those success stories are like really like this kid that did listen, dude, we were probably, even though you and I didn't know each other as teenagers, I suspect that we probably had a lot in common. And my guess is that if someone tried to forcibly change the way you dress, the way you think, the way you talk, and then suddenly you were different the next day, do you think that it was more likely they were different because they were scared about something, or because suddenly everything changed like in the matter of a week? Like, so I don't think that even the quote unquote success stories is real success. Like, to me, it looks like a scared kid doing what they think is, it's like the episode of South Park where the fucking Caesar Milan comes to fucking, teach Cartman how to act. And like, Cartman acts differently, but it's because he's fucking scared. He's gonna get fucking.
But I'm anti-authority. I'm anti-authority. That situation wouldn't have done much in a way for me. I would have still basically done the same path that I've basically walked down my life. But when it comes to me being an individual and who I am, I would suspect that my parents would have enough sense about them to know that program wouldn't work for me. Does that work for other people that aren't me? I can't answer that question. I have no idea. Maybe it does work for some. Maybe it works for somebody who, the military, okay. I've heard of stories of people in the military that thrive in the military, thrive in that structure, thrive in that schedule. And the second they get, put back out in the real world, they don't thrive at all. They sit on their couch and they might as well roll over and die. Their only success was in that structured existence. So
I agree, and there are people like that, but those people chose to put themselves there. Of course, a lot of them are poor and doing it because it's the only way the government gives them to get out and try and get an education, and that's more exploitation. But besides that, they're still fucking adults.
You can make the same argument that some prisoners, and I'm not, please don't think that I feel this way about a lot of prisoners, but some prisoners, a small percentage of them, have put themselves in the jail system because they like that structure. They will go out and commit crime because they don't know the life outside of that.
But that has nothing to do with sending your fucking kids there.
Yeah, I think Sarah, that those parents who send those kids there are either total narcissists and they want the perfect child that's going to fit their mold of what a child should be and how it should react and how it should behave. And I think the other half of those are parents who have no other choice because they don't have any other options. And I'm not saying that's not a conscious decision that they make. I think that and a lot of those areas that we're talking about where a lot of these kids come from, there's no therapy, there's no therapists around. The school guidance counselors are not really that qualified. There's not a lot of resources out there. And so if you have a kid that's running around in gangs and like like doing shit they're not supposed to be really doing, I mean, and you have somebody who's like, well, I'll take your kid and in a week they'll be totally different. They're not going to get into all this violent shit and get into all these drugs and stuff. Just give me a week. I think any parent in that situation would jump at that opportunity.
On a much deeper level, personally, I hate the idea of pointing my finger at somebody and saying you did wrong when, I don't know or understand necessarily the nuances of their situation. And I don't understand where their head was at, and I don't understand what their intent. I think their intentions matter.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Sarah and I had a conversation the other day about this a little bit, where we talked about, how when you're really able to consider where a person is coming from, the foundation of beliefs they have, what their situation was like growing up, how they applied these lessons to their lives, all of a sudden you have this ability to kind of like almost forgive them for some of the things they do, because you go, what else were they? I mean, I definitely have people in my life who turned out completely fucked up, who I've known since I was really young, and I go, and I now I look back, and I go, how the fuck else were they supposed to turn out?
Yeah,
of course they turned out this way,
Yeah, I mean, I think the blame for the the success of this show in particular should be placed solely on the network and the people who are allowing this type of stuff to continue, because I feel like they're really preying on parents. And that's not even another thing. Like this is just one TV show. There are hundreds of just sheriff's departments all over the country, and in every state, I would imagine, that have a program like this.
Are you serious?
Oh yes. 100%.
I had no fucking idea that was like a thing everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's not just a TV show. There's sheriff's departments that run these types of programs as a community resource.
And as a community resource,
yes,
who's paying for it? Who pay? Do the parents pay the sheriff department?
Everybody on this chat, everybody on this show.
Okay, so it's a tax-funded program.
Yeah, we get to pay for another pile of bullshit that doesn't work.
Are there town meetings where the community gets to decide how the programs are run?
Yeah, because that always works out so well. Communities are so good at bringing the locals together to come up with a plan. It's like the worst fucking thing in the world. No wonder politicians control our lives. You ever look around once in a while? It's like, fuck, dude. People can't govern themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's always the argument that's presented to me because I'm anti-authority. The argument is always like, well, the reason they're there is because they're going to have to make at some point some unpopular decisions, but necessary ones that will continue,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in any of that.
Yeah, but it's
I don't believe in unpopular decisions, but necessary ones. I always believe there's a way to make the right decision, but people have chosen to make the necessary ones so many times in people's favor that now we've built a web of nonsense that we can't get out of. Where like we have to make, the hard but necessary decision.
Give you an example. We had that boom period in the 80s with the Reagan administration, and then the debt got kind of out of control. The economy heated up a lot, and they had to raise interest rates, and that was a very unpopular decision.
None of that is a have to thing. It just is what it is. It's always been what it is. Somebody's making a decision, and we're all victim of it. That's it. I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in that somebody has to make a necessary decision shit. When it comes to governing people, I just don't think any of that is necessary. And there's examples of it not being necessary. There's examples of it. You go to other countries and the way they run things in prison systems and rehabilitation systems and how they deal with legalizing drugs and prostitution or sex workers or whatever the fuck it is. And what they get are good results. And what do is we fight back against all of it. Usually it's religiously backed, which is a fucking horrifying nightmare. And it's laced into every fucking facet of our society. And it's always bad. It's always negative.
It's not always backed on. Well, I would say 90% is back. 99% is backed by religion.
Enough of it.
Or it has like religious undertones, like the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. On the surface, doesn't sound religious, But let me tell you, as someone who grew up in a very conservative religious household, pull you up by your bootstraps actually comes from a verse in the Bible that says if you don't work, you don't eat. So if you're not working, you're not eating. You're basically, if you're not working, you're not even worth being alive.
So
that
God's a
whole
capitalist.
yes, yes, essentially. So there's a lot of stuff like American, I would say, like, I don't know, idioms you could say that are deeply rooted in religious sentiment. We'll say that. So not all of it is religious. Like a lot of people, like when you hear people say, "Oh, I want people who get food stamps to be drug tested," that on the surface isn't like a religious thing. But if you dig down deep enough, you'll get there.
I know it's almost always traceable.
Yeah.
To not evangelicals.
Well, not even just evangelicals, just like, I mean,
well, look at what happened with gay marriage in California. That was the Mormons. Dude, they fucking went hard out of their way. Like we're talking about a massive amount of people that didn't live in California were like, nope, this shit's not gonna fucking happen. Like, it's crazy. Could you imagine just suddenly what, like, people just decided that your marriage isn't a marriage? Like, just, and it was like it was a ton of Mormons from another state you don't live in that basically made that happen. Like, it's just so fucking wrong.
Yeah, I don't need the people who wear no offense to any Mormons watching the show, but I don't need the people who wear special underwear in order to have relations with their spouse.
Yeah.
Tell me who I can and cannot marry.
Yeah.
Again,
Sorry.
No offense to anyone who's Mormon.
Yeah. Sorry, Mitt Romney. You might seem sane sometimes, but let's be honest. You got magic underwear on, buddy.
Yeah, no.
Is magic underwear? Is that I don't know the details of this.
They wear magic underwear. It's a sort of extra level of protection against the
I'm
temptations
not
of
sure
the flesh.
calling it
It's
magic is really, like, I feel like calling it magic is kind of like not, like you're just saying words, but like yes, they do have special garments they have to wear. I don't think they call them magic.
Sure.
Fitting garments? Is that what we're saying? Are they?
Is it what?
They're sort of bloomery looking, kind of like the way, like you, like when you think of what's at the bottom of Ben Franklin's body. It's sort of like that, but underneath the jeans or slacks or trousers.
Robert M. Kelly said that they're called temple garments.
Temple garments.
So, Thank you. We're unrefined here.
Listen, I don't have like a vast knowledge of Mormonism. I watched Big Love like 20 times over, and I don't feel like that taught me shit about actual Mormons. All I know is the same thing I know about every religion. It should stay the fuck out of public policy. But yet I feel like it's taking over everything. And that goes for any and all religions as far as I'm fucking concerned. But I feel like that seems to be the exact opposite of what is happening. And it's fucking worrying, honestly. I feel like it's troubling.
Well, yeah, the repercussion of, what is it, the 50s when In God We Trust got put on the dollar because of the atheism in Russia and the communist.
Yeah.
Russia.
Opportunists, always looking for a way to slip that shit in, dude.
Godless commies.
Yeah. This is our chance.
Yeah.
I want to adjust the chat for just a second. Joshua said, not for nothing, if someone yells at me, it makes me more mad. That's back when we were talking about the scared straight thing. Which I agree with, if I'm pissed off, you start screaming at me to, calm down. It's like, I don't know, I get more angry, I guess. Let's see. Chill Smith laughed at the DARE program. Let's see, said...
I loved my shirt, man. I wore that shit all the time when I was out smoking weed and skating.
Chill Smith said, oh shit, Stones. He was happy to see you there, Stones.
Oh,
let's see. Scott Fast next said, hey friends, he's late, but my shirt is fire. Thank you. I really love that my shirt has not gone completely ignored this evening. Very colorful. Scared straight does seem like exploitation, Chill Smith said. and Sweet 16 on MTV fully exploited teen pregnancy. I think 100%. I mean, yes, it is a train wreck. You know, it's a train wreck, but it is exploitation. You know, we were watching the what the fuck is the documentary that's out about the 90s now?
Is it the one on HBO with Woodstock 99?
I'm not sure, but maybe there's a couple of them out right now because there's one that focuses on Jerry Springer.
Oh, I've not seen that.
And how the Jerry Springer show and talk shows in general. Yeah, go ahead.
Vice is doing a series called Dark Side of the 90s, and they had an episode that was all about talk shows of the 90s and how they were just completely fucked, and it was just people exploiting other people, and how that led to, you know, that, like, I don't know if you remember or but it's like there was an episode of Sally Jesse where a man was on the show to confess to his friend that he had feelings for him, and then that guy ended up killing him.
Yes, I remember.
Because he was so embarrassed that happened on TV. Yeah. And then right after that happened, all the other talk shows that had been doing the exact same thing were like, oh shit, we might need to fucking change this up a little bit. I don't know. And but fucking Jerry Springer was like, fuck it. We're just going to go more in that direction because everybody else is backing off. So now we're going to be the only fucking place you can get this kind of entertainment. And it's like, man, we changed shows, but we didn't really change anything.
Why couldn't Jerry Springer have been like, you know, ride that train onto the Catch a Predator fucking people?
Dude, I had no idea who Jerry Springer was before he was a talk show host. He was a fucking mayor.
Yeah, he was a politician.
I had no idea about that. I was like, are you kidding me?
Had a radio show too.
So weird.
Is his show still on? Is Jerry Springer still on?
I don't know. I haven't followed him.
No, man. That's weird to think about. It never even dawned on me that there was a chance that his show could still be on.
Yeah, because I remember I never really watched too much of it, but because I obviously I was like not allowed because I was like too young. But later on I like turned a few episodes on. I was like, what is going on? How is this on daytime television?
A friend passed away. He was an audience member on Jerry Springer, and he worked his way onto the stage, and that played on repeat during his funeral. That was like a highlight moment where he just like.
Wait, he was a. Say that again. He was someone who was in the audience, and then he made it onto, like, he ran onto the stage like crowd surfing.
Started making like comments from the audience, and then like he started like getting the whole crowd like riled up, and then like he worked his way onto the stage and took over the. It was like his whole appearance was.
So he was like the hype man of like the trash TV world. Jerry Springer quit in 2018.
Okay.
God.
I was gonna say.
I think that's the problem with a lot of those shows that like teen pregnancy and Jerry Springer. In our American culture, fame used to mean that you accomplished something. Now fame is just for fame's sake, and it's just gotten worse. And these people are aspiring just to have some level of fame, and that's their aspiration. And now you have these teen pregnancies that are going out to be on the show, or these Jerry Springers to be on Jerry Springer. Like it's an aspiration. It becomes an aspirational aspect of their life. For famous sake.
Of course it does, man. Just like the internet. Like when you know that doing something fucked up in a video is going to get you 1 million views, of course you're going to staple your nuts to your leg. But like, I don't think that that's the majority. I don't think it's like an epidemic. Well, maybe
I've
maybe it
seen
is an
the teen pregnancy show. I've only seen like ads for it like a while ago. I've never watched it, but I get the impression that if I was a pregnant teenager, it's depending on what my situation in life was, I would probably feel like being on a show like that was an outlet for someone to finally hear how I felt. Like, I feel like some of those people probably do it because they're not being heard by anyone and they're being gaslit, and like they're being glossed over, and they probably feel like, oh, there'll be attention on me and I can actually talk about how my situation and how I feel, and someone will actually pay attention to my emotions.
Take everything you say and they mix it all up and they make you look like an idiot. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like
Right.
16.
That's exploitation.
But that show actually, when that show came out, the teen birth rates dropped. There was a did a study. There was a correlation because a lot of people were like, "Oh, being a teen mom is fun and cool," and then you see all these like children fighting with like their baby daddies and like how shitty it fucking is to be a teen mom or teen parent. So I mean that show is very exploitative, I will say, but I think there was like, I don't know, personally I kind of have a love-hate because I did watch 16 and Pregnant when it came out, and I remember watching it and being like, oh shit, this does not, like, what these kids are going through is not fucking fun. Like, I don't ever want to go through anything like that.
So
like,
do you think ultimately it was a good thing? Like so that's my first part. My second part of that same question is, it makes me think about like when people make videos of like giving homeless people things. And on the one hand, it gets called, it's like emotion porn. And on the other hand, sometimes I look at it and I go, well, it's exploitation, but like, it's a good message. And I'm kind of stuck on the line in the middle there when I really think about it. Because the idea that like the whole world gets to see what it means to somebody to get $20 a hotel room and a hot meal for a night, like how fucking important that is. Yes, one person's YouTube video is getting fucking 18 million views because of it, but at the same time, those 18 million people who viewed it, maybe they learned something. So where's the line?
I don't know. I think it's when I see those videos, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that like humanity isn't better to the point where these videos don't matter because that's just what you should do. It's embarrassing to me when I imagine what it must be like to need food or need clothes or need a hygiene kit and have to have a camera in my face and agree to be put on a channel I'll never watch because I can't afford internet and I don't have a fucking computer. But you know, you have a fan base, like someone with an actual fan base is making that base off of my desperation for very small things overall, but large to them because they don't have them and they need them. I like, you know, it's, to me, it's really off-putting and it's just gross. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I think,
and again, I don't disagree with you, but I do wonder if like, do we live in a world where there's so little empathy that like when people see that and their heart melts, do I go, all right, well, at least the fuck that's happening because we need more of that right now, because right now people don't give a fuck about anybody who's sick or worried about even COVID at the fucking moment the entire time.
But
so,
I don't feel like that.
Is it a side effect we can live with?
No, I don't think that it generates kindness. All it does is generate a like, oh man, what a moment. And then scroll. They're not like, this inspired me to go, you know, donate canned food to the food bank down the street that I pass by every day and never give a thought about. Like, they're still passing by it. I don't think I've ever once heard anyone I've ever met in my entire life see any of those videos and went, that made me really want to do something. And not only that, I actually got up and did it. I've never, ever fucking heard that in my life. And I'm not saying that's had to have happened somewhere, but like, it's just, it's sort of like the other day, I keep getting like advertisements on advertisements, not the right word. I keep getting things like videos that pop up on the Facebook feed lately from pages that I don't follow. And it's like, you may like this or something. And like, I've never gotten that before. And the other day one popped up and it was one of those videos, like what we're talking about. It was a person who was on the street and they needed something. And the worst part of the video was on the side of the video were two guys watching the video and commenting on it. And they were like, oh man, what's going to happen next? Oh, are they going to take it? Are they? And it was like a sporting event, and I'm like, this is someone's fucking life, like, and you're watching it as it's like it was so disgusting. So now the person who originally made the video and put it on their channel is making profit off of this. The two guys who are reposting the video so they can add their own fucking commentary to it are now profiting off of it. And the fucking original person who got like a burger or whatever are still in the exact same fucking position that they were in to begin with. And like nothing good came out of it at all.
What about the bigger ones? What about the ones where so I've seen videos where there are like, for example, TikTok stars who are so fucking huge and they get so many donations that they're actually able to like get a house for somebody for a year, give them like $25,000 to start with, help them with any medical help that they need, and then they film all of that almost like it's a mini documentary. Are they helping or making it worse when they take it to that level? If you were
truly helping, then what? Okay, I'm sure that at least most of the people on this show right now has donated something to somewhere, whether it was like one of those little things off the Christmas trees in the grocery store where they have lists of gifts for kids, or you fucking donated cans to whatever. You've never felt the need to film it and then watch when the person received it. Like, you did it because you were like, someone's going to receive this and hopefully it'll help them out somehow. Like, the need to film it to get the response is the level when it crosses over from I want to help to I want something in return.
Right, and there's voyeurism in there. There's entertainment value. You have to have entertainment value. There's definitely the meaning or like a diminishing part of that. I understand what you're saying, Rick, that you want to like be able to follow the story, to see what helps and what hurts, and how to better understand. But I don't think on the other end of that, I think the people who are creating content know that there has to be some type of entertainment value with the content that's created.
Yeah,
and
I hear you.
Certain things that aren't necessarily. If you just videotape the daily mundane events of life and the mundane events of people, like the grind that people have to go through, I don't think that you'd have many viewers after that.
Right. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
There's a lot of people that are doing fake ones now.
Absolutely right, dude. Dude, I was complaining about that.
Products. Yeah. There was a dude that like was trying to take it back from a little girl. It was like an iPod or an iPad.
Oh.
And the mother was like, "No, get the fuck out of here!
Fuck off,
like,
dude!
Give it to my girl." And little girl's like, "No, like what the fuck?"
Dude, it blows my mind how many people
I'll buy it back from you, and then he ends up just taking it from her in the end.
It blows my mind how many people watch certain videos and think the shit's real when it's not.
Yeah, it's like people that go overseas and they go to they volunteer. They work with a lot of there was a thing about I guess it was like influencer tourism.
I'll be right back.
And they go overseas and they take photos with kids, and they're like, look at all these kids. I'm like helping them out, and then there was one country that was like, if you're gonna come over here to volunteer with kids, don't do it. Because you're staying here with these kids who are orphans, or they have had something that's happened that they're here with us. They're in these homes, and they have no way of forming a real human connection. You come here for a week, you're taking photos with them, they're developing relationships with you. You're not giving any time, energy. You're not coming back. You're not checking up on them. You're essentially abandoning them, and they're going through the process of being abandoned over and over and over again because so many people were coming in and just essentially just doing volunteer work for a photo op. And it caused a really big problem. It's I think it was a country in Africa, and it was one group of this group of homes that were we're not accepting more volunteers because this is a big issue, and these kids have real psychological needs, and this is damaging them.
It's almost like poor people being used as accessories to make someone else look better. Yeah. And it's just gross. Because the amount of time that goes into that, if everyone that does that took that time and put it into real change, it would probably make a significant difference for society. But
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with like people who run actual, like there's a woman that she's pretty, I guess she's like viral, or she's gone viral a couple of times because she goes down on Skid Row in California, I think in Los Angeles, and she gives makeovers, but she runs her own company. And she puts these videos out there and she's like, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm helping these women. I'm helping these men. I'm giving them haircuts. I'm trying to make them feel good. We give them meals, passing stuff out. And like, I don't have a problem with that because she runs her own charity. And she's like, I'm putting this out here. I'm not monetizing my videos. I'm putting this out here so that you're aware this is my organization. This is what I do. I don't have a problem with that. If you're doing that to get awareness and you want people to donate, people from all over the place, you know, who don't know of you in your local area, and you want them to donate or you want them to help in any way, that's fine. I think the issue is when you have people, and I think, Rick, that's the line that you're talking about, because there's a fine line between exploiting and then wanting people to be aware of issues. And there's people on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever that will just go on and give people money or food to make themselves look good. But then there's also people out there who are like, I want to build awareness about this. And if I put this content out there, people are going to know about it. Right. People are going to hopefully donate or do what they can. And if I get one person, that's fine. If I don't get any, that's fine. At least I did what I could. Right. And I think that's the line that you're talking about.
It is. Because I find, you know, Sarah's criticism is completely valid.
Oh, 110%.
But I also feel like it's so valid that voice is getting louder and louder out there for these kinds of things, and you're probably getting more people who are really doing what you're talking about versus the people who are faking it. Because if you get caught faking some shit like that, that's the end of your internet career. Mm-hmm. Like, as soon as people know your face and that you fuck somebody over in that way, you're fucked permanently now. Like, that's a scarlet letter on the internet now. So like, I wonder if that criticism has been heard loud and clear enough to where people are doing things from a more noble standpoint, I guess is my question or point or whatever.
I don't know. You know what else? I think there's like something else that has always bothered me is that people that are homeless are treated as if that's the only thing about them that exists. It really bothers me when someone says, oh, this homeless guy, blah, 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 because the term that homeless guy is used as a way to invoke a very specific picture in your mind about that. Like, societally speaking, it's more of a term than it is just some words now, and it's meant to invoke a very specific idea in your head about who that person is and what they look like. And it bothers me that's used as an identifier so often, because why is it? I imagine that person also has likes and dislikes, also has medical issues that they deal with, has brothers and sisters, has, like, what the fuck do you know about that person? And first of all, you're assuming that about that person. I doubt they fucking told you, because I doubt you bothered to talk to them for 1 second. Yeah. Like, it just, that's always been a really big thing that bothered me, is the way that homeless people are treated as that they are homeless and now that's all they are.
It's dehumanizing.
It's beyond dehumanizing, and it's so fucking awful. I mean, dude, you already don't have a place to call home, which means that your feeling of safety has been removed. And now on top of that, you have to be whittled down to what might be the worst thing that you have to deal with personally as the only thing that exists about you. Like, and I don't feel like people are even aware of how dehumanizing just saying something like that is. And because it's so normal to say, it's so normalized. Like, talk shows, I mean, sitcoms use that term all the time. Like, oh, you know, the homeless guy we always pass by on the corner. It's used in a very specific way.
I just wanted to address the chat because Joshua said that people do things just to get views and follows, and like that's absolutely Of course, it's absolutely true. You know, what I hope is that like people apply a little bit of critical thinking to what someone's doing, and I think that's like the point, right? Like some people are doing it just for that reason, and other people might have something more noble going on, and I think we have to pay attention to the details and the nuances of what they're doing to make that, you know, to make that call, really. There's another news story I wanted to bring up to you guys tonight that I thought. Did you guys hear about the dude who got duct taped to the plane seat? Because so this guy's on an airplane, right? And he was, I don't know what the fuck was going on with him, but he was screaming that his parents were worth $2 million. My parents are worth $2 million. He was about 22. He like assaulted two women who work on the plane. I don't know what the word is now for what they do. It's not steward. Flight attendants.
Flight attendants.
Thank you. Two flight attendants were assaulted.
$2 million retirement ain't what it used to be, guys.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah,
right,
no.
$2 million is like, yeah, you might be okay for a little while, but come on, come on, it's not that no more. It's not 1986, buddy. But he's screaming that like his parents were $2 million. He assaulted a few flight attendants, and he was completely out of control. And the flight attendants ganged up on him, and they duct taped him to a chair so he couldn't move. And I was wondering if you guys saw this or had any thoughts about this.
Yes.
I mean, it's you're not duct taping a kid to a wall. So I was like, whatever.
I
because they
don't
didn't
know.
have rope. Like what?
I guess that's all they had on board. But I mean that's like I gotta say I understand why they did it, because like you're literally in a metal tube in the air. That guy could just get up and open the doors, and that's it. It's game over.
Remember in like the 50s or 60s, they had like full course meals, and you wore like a suit on the plane, and there was like all sorts of leg room and shit.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Yeah, we're living in
Never
a
got
world
anything
where
cool.
people wear like their fucking underwear to go to 7-Eleven. They're not putting on a fucking tuxedo to sit on Southwest Airlines.
Now you just get dragged off the plane or duct taped to the chair.
Yeah, can you imagine that guy was wearing like fucking a tuxedo while they were duct taping him?
Yeah. I mean,
Was
cruise
he
ships.
throwing money around, like throwing singles everywhere and shit?
Yeah,
No,
he's
he
like
was
a Monopoly man.
Groping people. He was groping people. I
Yes.
mean, I don't know.
Yes,
It's like
he was
groping
groping people.
on the plane.
What do you do with that guy if you're stuck in a tube with him and he acts like a fucking child out of
You
control?
duct tape him to the chair.
100%.
So,
Fuck
I have a
him.
question about that.
I thought they had air marshals.
What happened
Apparently
when,
not.
like, how did it start? Did anybody see how, like, was he just sitting there and all of a sudden he just lost it? Or, like, did someone start arguing with him about something? Like, what started it to the avalanche of, like crazy bullshit that fucking...
I'm not sure, and I don't know if he was drunk.
So according
But-
to TMZ, after several minutes of Barry ranting, the attendants walk up and then a scuffle breaks out. Not too long after, you see Barry taped to his seat and going on a tirade about what this means big picture. I don't know what the fuck that means. This is on TMZ.
Does it specify what the tirade was? Was it like, because usually now if you hear about someone losing their shit on an airplane, it's because because it's a mass thing.
He was slurring his words, and it was a lot of nonsense. So I imagine he was. I mean, if his parents were worth $2 million, I imagine he's drunk.
How do you? Is that his mugshot?
Yeah.
Okay, that boy does not look 22 years old. He looks a cool. Yeah. He looks a cool 30 or 40. So, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another weird moment. Barry mentions that he's white, and there's nothing he can do about that.
Oh man.
God damn it! I'm white. There's nothing I could do about it. Damn it!
I'm glad they duct taped him to the seat. I mean, like when you go on I've never been on a cruise, and I don't know if this is true, but don't they have like jails on cruise ships?
I don't know.
Right?
I've been on a lot of cruises, but I've been on several cruises, but I have yet to be arrested on one. So I'm not sure. I think the rumor is they just throw you overboard.
I mean, you can't kick him off you can't kick. I don't know. I'm glad they duct taped him.
You get fucking caught cheating in early morning breakfast bingo, and off you go.
Yeah. I'm surprised that there are no, like, I'm looking at the chat now. There aren't flight air marshals on every flight. I feel like I've been lied to.
Yeah. Robert McKelly says that they only work on federal. Air marshals do not work for the airlines. They work for the federal government, and they're there to prevent threats to the plane, not to disorderly passengers.
The terror threat level is now green, so it's only on a few flights.
I see.
Okay.
Well, thank goodness.
But the air marshal couldn't have gotten up and flashed his gun and been like, "Look, you gotta sit down. Like, just sit.
Hard wink. Yeah.
Take it easy, buddy.
Take it in there, buddy. You don't want to mess with this, all right? The second I assess that you are a threat to the plane and not just to the passengers, shit's gonna change.
You will be fucked up, sir." And there he is. There he's duct taped and he's still screaming. Duct taped to the chair.
I mean, but that makes sense. Like, you'd be screaming if you were duct taped to a chair too.
I feel like if I was that guy, though, part of me would be like, I don't agree with it, but I do understand it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, thank God they got that under control. But that makes me very nervous now about flying in general. Like, I don't know. Like, are they going to have duct tape? Are they going to have duct tape on every plane now?
Can I just say
they fix wing problems on
That's
the fly?
true.
Like,
You keep doing, sir.
it's part of their budget overall. Where do you think all that fucking extra airplane money goes to? The duct tape.
Right, now that you say that, Pat, about flights being like you wore a suit and you had a 4-course meal, why are we paying so much extra for flights if we're not getting that experience? Where is the money going? I have questions.
I can't get a goddamn hungry man.
It was the duct tape budget.
What happened was the airline industry got in big trouble when there was a fuel increase. So they ended up downsizing in order to mitigate that potential bankruptcy that would have come up. But I remember going on flights as a kid. The plane was almost empty. That doesn't happen anymore. That can't happen because of the fuel crisis that occurred. That's how it goes.
In the 70s, the fuel crisis
80s.
In the 80s. But damn, it's been like what, 30?
Dude, for a second, I thought she was
later.
asking. I did for a second when she's like in the 70s. I thought she was asking you to specify if you meant you took a lot of flights in the 70s. And I'm like, damn, she thinks you're super old, dude.
Oh, it was approximately a year after Trump Airline went into business, and that was one of the major factors in why the Trump Airline went out the way it did.
Damn.
Sure.
It all goes
Any
back
kind
to
of
Trump.
maintenance, yeah.
I'm sure it would have done really successfully otherwise.
Yeah, like Trump Steaks and Trump University.
Shayla says, yeah, they're typically on flights for a reason, as in they're someone they're watching specifically. So yeah, it seems to be, like Stone says, that air marshals are a rarity at the moment. Robert M. McKelly says there's about 3,000 air marshals in total.
Well, they'll be watching him next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sure, right.
I imagine if there's some sort of no-fly list, he's probably made the list.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that no-fly list is. I gotta say, because, like...
I know it's true for some journalists, that's for fucking sure.
It's just some bullshit.
Journalists and people with Middle Eastern last names.
Yeah.
Yes.
People who are always randomly searched.
You guys remember that guy from the Awesome Talk Supergroove episode where the guy came on and he had the driver's license and his name was actually Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
What is it? I can get through airport security without being harassed.
Right.
Damn.
The flight attendants are being punished unpaid leave while they are investigated for not handling the situation properly.
What's properly? How do you handle that
No,
situation?
no. So
But
there
I
was a
think
follow-up to
actually
that. There was a follow-up to that. The airline so the airline originally said they were either going to fire them or something like that was going to happen. But then there was a follow-up where they said that now they're siding with their employees after examining the video. They think their employees did the right thing. So I don't know if it's changed since then. That was like within the last 36 hours I saw that article come up. So I don't know if that's changed.
Robert M. Kelly said Ted Kennedy was on the do not fly list at one time and took a while to get off too. Do you know why he was on the do not fly list? Like, did they tell you why you're not? Like, I don't know if they give you a letter and they're like, these are the reasons and these were your missteps.
Yeah.
Like, what's the good of knowing? What's the good of knowing without knowing why?
I would think it's actually probably pretty universal. And the reason I say that is because I knew a gentleman that in his earlier years before he learned his lesson in life, he was abusive towards his wife. He was subsequently divorced, had a new wife, and was not abusive towards her. But every time he went to get on a plane with his current wife, they would stop both of them and ask if everything was okay and who are you and blah, blah, blah. So, like, I think that does run pretty deep as far as background checks when you're going to fly.
Really? I had no idea it was that deep. Wow. Here I thought they just walked you through and they're like, all right, well, get on the plane. Yeah. Hopefully you get there.
Robert M. Kelly just said, have you ever been banned on TikTok? They tell you violated the community guidelines, but they don't tell you specifically what or how. Really? No, I've never been banned on TikTok, man. Maybe I'll strive for that, maybe. But yeah, they don't tell you what or how.
There's a letter on your ticket that lets the TSA know they have to pull you over to check you. I think it was an S letter that pulls you over for higher security checks.
A scarlet letter.
Damn.
Damn.
Dude, if I knew that and I had it and I looked and I saw that, I just wouldn't even go. I'd be like, I don't care. I wasted my money. I'm not going through it.
You're like, oh, S for Sarah. Okay.
Well, flying is a terrible experience. Anyways.
They've forgotten about trains in the equation.
Yeah.
Stones, anything analog these days, no one gives a shit about. You can send almost anything in the mail because no one gives a shit. Because nothing travels through the mail.
No.
They're checking your email and shit like that. The only thing you get in the mail, sooner or later, the only thing that will come in the mail is Amazon packages.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the drones to come out.
Remember
when they were talking about
on the
that?
market, dude. It's coming.
They're waiting.
You're gonna stand outside and some machine from the sky is gonna drop you what you want. It's gonna give you your stuff like a machine gun.
Shayla said they literally have to call people to verify you, and if the person doesn't answer, you have to wait until they do. Imagine if they called someone that's pissed off at you.
Yeah.
Is this person an asshole? And you're like, yes,
Yeah.
the fuck they are.
Let me tell you why. Back in 1996.
Oh, man.
Fuck, man. I don't know.
Like, what a weird way to verify the person. Like, what?
Right.
You don't even understand. Like, I wonder who they have on their list of people to call. Like, who is it going to be, their employer or like their neighbor? When I worked for the TSA, a guy had to wait 2 hours for his mother to answer and his neighbor to answer. That's like, wow. Do you have, so you said you worked for the TSA, so I'm wondering if you could answer, how do they decide who the people are, who the relations are that they are going to call as references for that person? Right. How do they make that decision?
Do I get to write my own references? Like, before I leave, I'm like, Stones, I got to get on a plane. You're going to get a call from a weird number. Just tell them I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we have to get a reference because that guy Stones sounded a little shady.
Yeah, and they're like, well, Stones is on the no-fly list, so you have to pick somebody else.
Just put down your own cell phone number and they'll call you.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, that guy's dope.
Well, okay, so Shayla said the person decides who the references are. That's really interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow, that's really interesting and weird that they would allow that. Because, like, what if the person is like a suspected like child trafficker, and they're like, call my child trafficker brother so he could tell you I'm not one. Right. Like, that's so weird.
Right. And the brother's like, of course he's fine. Jeez.
Just don't look in his anal cavity.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay out of there for the good of everyone. You don't want to do it.
Oh, man.
Joshua said, what is it like a job interview when you need a list of references? Yeah. I mean, references in almost any situation, the fact that it's your choice, that's kind of cool, I guess.
It's weird, though. It's like, when you fuck up again, who are we supposed to call?
Yeah.
You know, like...
Right. Call this guy. He'll vouch for me. Just somebody you have blackmail on.
Weird.
If you don't fucking tell them that I'm awesome, I swear to God.
They double check it somehow. They asked him questions like where you grew up at, what school was a block from you. It's kind of like they knew a lot about him before he showed up. Dude, I feel like back. It would be annoying if I went to work and they told me that what I had to do that day was like sit online and like investigate whether or not this guy grew up down the street from any schools you could ask him about, and like what his favorite band is, and like just random shit about this random alleged whatever he was. I don't know. And the other question is like, because, you know, after 9/11, everybody got the impression that this was happening to, like, you know, later on we realized what Kristen said, which was anyone that had a Middle Eastern name. But, you know, we were given the impression that this was for suspected terrorists of some sort. But now it kind of sounds like just whoever the fuck was on a no-fly list. Like, I don't think they thought that the senator was going to blow up a plane. So why was he on it? Like, it sounds like, where's the line? Like, how bad do you have to be considered to possibly be part of this questioning?
That's a good question.
Probably just background checks, right? Once you're an offender, they probably just look you up and they know everything about you at that point.
More or less, with added references, yeah.
I mean, it's really easy to find connections for people. I mean, call logs, all sorts of stuff. If they really want it, the phone companies cooperate and all that stuff.
Definitely.
Robert Emmett Kelly said domestic violence complaints, I think, was why he was on the do not fly list. And Shayla said it also is if they don't like you. You can say one wrong thing and be put on the list.
Damn, really?
That's fucked up.
I mean, I imagine that like there are trigger terms. Like if you Google the wrong thing in the wrong order, it absolutely pops up as a red flag somewhere and you probably get it's probably all automated. Like if you Google these words or this sentence or this phrase, it gets logged somewhere and you just get put on a list somewhere, and there's probably different levels to the list, different color grades to it or whatever. This is a green, this is a yellow, this is or amber, and this is a red. Yeah.
They retired that color scheme. They didn't announce that they were retiring it. They just did it.
Well, I think that's bullshit, Stones, because it's an amber light. That's bullshit. So, one other story I wanted to bring up tonight. I just wanted to say, do you guys know anything about the Slender Man thing where the girls went there? She was really young and went to prison because she stabbed her friend or whatever. So they approved an early release for her.
Well, I hope they were humane. The fact that she was so young, and I hope that she is actually rehabilitated.
I hope the same, but
I mean, I certainly think there was a mental health issue going on there in
100%.
a teenager that maybe went unaddressed. Yeah.
Usually is.
But I feel that way a lot of the time too. Like I feel that way. Like people get really vicious about shit, and sometimes I don't blame them. But like the kid who's like 14 who killed that girl and stabbed her like 80 times, and he went to jail, and he's like gloating about it in the back of the police car, and he's like 14, and people like he's gonna be tried as an adult. And I'm I don't blame people for being pissed off because it's horrific and awful. But he's 14, yo.
There, your frontal lobe's not formed yet. As you know, you're not mature.
There's scientific and social reasons why trying him as what's the point of having a system where you're not considered an adult till 18 if you can just alter it whenever you feel it's necessary? There's a reason it's like that. I think it's fucking terrible what he did, but like I think his parents need to be investigated.
And the other thing is, to be fair, this system that you're speaking of, where it's set up where you can try kids one way and adults the other. The most important time for that to exist is for a kid who commits something so horrific. Yeah. People want to try him as an adult. Like that's when that system is actually the most important. And we have seen it failed numerous fucking times over the past decade. I feel like in the past like 10 years, we've seen a lot of that system not being utilized when it should have been. The same way you see mentally ill people begin with the death penalty when they don't even understand what they did. People too young to be put to no one should be put to fucking death, but the system has failed many times, and it fails kids a lot, and it fails mentally ill kids like. Sure. To a degree that I don't think will ever be counted fully or understood or grasped fully at all, because this subject comes with a lot of gaslighting. Mm-hmm. It's like there isn't a healthy 14-year-old that kills people.
Right, exactly. And not like that. Not. I mean, he got in the back of the police car and made like a Snapchat where he said, "Hey, has anybody seen?" And he put the girl's name in the Snapchat. And I'm like, okay, can we agree that this is a sick 14-year-old? Like something else has happened here. I'm not saying release him into the world either. I'm saying that the system is not playing this right, or has not. It doesn't have the things in place that should be in place to handle a situation like this. We have like A or B. And life isn't A or B. There's a million things in between that happen. And I don't know what you do with him, but putting him into an adult prison system, to me, like, it's not the devil. Like, he wasn't born that fucking way. Like, he became that way through something because, and I'm sorry, but he's 14. There's a lot of shit to take a look at there. There's a lot of shit to fucking... His parents need to be investigated. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, that kid grew up in some shit. He did not grow up just living a normal life and he's just a bad apple. They don't make bad apples. They create bad apples. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know what you do with him or for him. Again, I'm not saying release him back into the world either, because clearly some things are just too damaged for that. But to put him in an adult male prison system is crazy. Like it's just as crazy as what that 14-year-old kid did. And I feel like it's like a unpopular opinion for me to say that, but like again, like I just don't think he should be not put in a man's prison system.
Well, the whole system needs rework when it comes to mental health. I mean, look how many mental health patients get murdered by police just for showing up and asking for help.
Correct. Yes.
Like, it's ridiculous at this point.
The amount of times that like we've seen where a caretaker couldn't handle like an autistic person that was having like just acting like melting down, in a way where they couldn't physically contain it or do anything to help anymore, and because they didn't know any better, called the cops, and the cops shoot the person, and usually shoot them. It happens within like 3 minutes sometimes. Like, so, like, anyone who's ever been around anyone that needed to sort of, I don't know the right term for it. I don't want to say like needed to be talked down, but needed to have a calming presence in order to change the feel of the environment in some way, change it from a chaotic environment to an environment where hopefully we can take a breath and whatever. Like, that doesn't happen in 3 minutes or less. Like, that's something that you're trained for, and that is long and slow and touchy, and there's trigger words and trigger actions, and you have to know how to carefully sort of wade through this slowly. And like, so yeah, like, mentally ill people of all types are usually treated like criminals.
Yeah.
And
It takes a lot
sometimes
of
they
patience to deal with that.
a lot,
sure.
an enormous amount of patience.
Yeah.
Because
And
like,
police are not trained to have
Not
patience.
Not
It's like
at
the
all.
opposite, you know what I mean? And like, one thing about the idea of defunding the police that I think a lot of people don't get is there's a whole other philosophy behind that, where if you defund the police, you're also taking a lot of pressure off of them that doesn't belong to them. Like, they should not be the people, like, show up as backup for somebody. That I understand to some extent. But to call for them for a mental health issue, the amount of times we've seen way too many videos of not just like people with mental health issues getting shot, but like, what about the video where the kid's sitting with his therapist and the cops show up and they fucking shoot the therapist?
Yeah.
I remember that.
What the fuck, dude?
So cops are automatically dispatched to all 911 calls, whether it's a fire call or a medical call or any of it. And the thing of it is that upsets me is, especially on the medical calls, if they're the only ones there and shit goes south, it's bad enough that way. But what I find unforgivable is when you're called out when a police officer is called out to assist in a medical call, and they're usually the first ones to show up. Once the medical people get on scene and the cops still inject themselves in the situation, that needs to be prosecuted to the full.
Yeah. You're
no
right.
business.
Right. The whole system needs to be rebuilt and reimagined. And the worst part is,
it's weird. Yeah, dude, like, now that you said that, I'm thinking back, like, I've had the ambulance called for me so many times in my life, and I can remember times where the second that the cops are always the first to be there. I think there was one time in my life where somehow an ambulance got there almost first. Yeah. But like, a lot of the times, like 8 out of 10, the second the medical people come and know that like everything is basically they have it under control, the cop just kind of stands back for a second or two, and then the medical people tell them like, it's all, we got it, and then they just leave. But I've had some times where the cop was not just waiting around the whole time, but also like almost standing right in the middle of like me and the person attempting to help me, and like almost as if they were part of helping me get better, but they weren't doing anything because they don't know anything about my illnesses and how to treat them or anything about any of that. And like that, like, now that you pointed it out, like, and I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about how weird those moments actually were now that you said it, because why were they standing there? Like, I told you about a couple of years ago when I had a seizure, and like, I couldn't walk anymore, and out of desperation, because I knew if I passed out in my home alone, I was going to die. So I crawled to my neighbor's door, and she called the cops on me while I was screaming, because I knew I had maybe a couple minutes left of consciousness if I was lucky. I was like going in and out. And she, instead of opening the door to help me, called the cops. And when like I knew she wasn't going to open the door because I could hear her repeating what I was saying to the cops on the other side of the door. So I crawled back into my apartment and crawled to try and get sugar to try and stay alive. So by the time I got the sugar in me, the cop was there and I could walk again, but I looked like a drunk person. I couldn't walk straight and I knew it. And, you know, the cop is walking towards me from down the hall with his hand like by his waist, and he's telling me to walk towards him with my fucking hands at my, and all I'm thinking is I can't walk straight, like I'm gonna get fucking shot, like, and like he should not have been the person addressing someone who just had a violent seizure who can't walk, like, and I'm trying to explain as fast as I fucking can to like get as many words out as possible before something shady happens. Like I'm trying to tell him like, this is what happened. I can't walk straight. Like I'm not fucking drunk. I'm not on drugs. Like it's scary to be like in a medical emergency and have a police officer come towards you because you can't help but associate that with you're doing something wrong. And when you're not even fully there, like it's even worse.
They associate that with a situation where something wrong might be happening. That's always the first assumption is you know, they approach every situation as a potential threat.
And that's the problem. Exactly right.
That's the problem.
That's the problem, is that those two situations don't go together. And we've got and the worst part is, you know, what I was going to say earlier is that I think we've figured that out. And I feel like the next generation needs to take over what's happening on a social level on a bigger scale right now. And that's not to say that all boomers are assholes or anything like that. But ultimately, the boomer generation is still got a stronghold over how things are done everywhere. And there are plenty of people from that generation who are reasonable and understand things. But there are too many in places of power that don't. And we're living longer, we're staying younger longer, and they've got a stronghold over things. And I listen to these ideas where we can all sit here and agree that something needs to be done to change that. And maybe it's happening in some places, but why isn't it happening like so grandiosely that like we're like, okay, look, overnight we know
because
we can all understand the psychology
there's only
of
one
this.
reason. Like we don't even have to talk about this anymore. The answer is because of money. You know, there's no other answer. That's the reason. We need money for the prisons. We had money for the private prisons. We had money for all the fucking military shit that
but who's
they get.
responsible for that?
Ambulances, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but 46 out of the 50 states ambulances are not a essential resource. Fire.
Yeah,
it's insane, dude.
Like, what?
Robert M. Kelly said they closed the mental institutions rather than spend the money to reform them properly. They invented community treatment, which is an utter failure with the truly sick.
I don't understand how, as a species, we don't understand that, like, if you have a mentally healthy population, you flourish dramatically. Like,
because you just have to be mentally healthy enough to keep producing something. You don't have to be mentally healthy enough to actually be healthy.
They want us all slightly sick.
Yeah.
Slightly, and some people slip and they get worse than that, and that's just collateral damage, I guess, for certain, you know, organizations or people or whatever. I don't know. I was going to wrap it up. Sarah, would you want me to wait?
I just have low blood sugar, so I need milk.
Okay.
But you can wrap it up if you want.
I can wrap it up if
you want to. I'm sorry, but my blood sugar is low. So
her blood sugar's low, so she's dealing with that right now. But I was going to wrap up the show because we're getting pretty late now. I wanted to say thank you to Shayla and Scott and Robert, Emmett Kelly and Mike Pepe and Josh and everybody who watched tonight for watching, sharing. I feel like Miss Molly from Romper Room.
Good golly.
Good golly. You can come over to my camera if you want to. That way I'm not alone. Okay, here we go. Now we're all here. We're all here. Awesome Talk Quarantine Edition, number 34. You know, Chill Smith was in the chat a lot tonight. So I think for tonight's show, we're going to close out with a performance from Chill Smith when he was on. He was one of the last people who was on the live show before the quarantine started. So I think we're going to flip over to him. But I really love all you guys. And
now we're going to all sing together.
Yeah. We're going to sing the hymns, the Awesome Talk hymns. In 2 weeks.
Stones can do the, what is that? What was that called, Stones, that I put on your page? The mouth trumpet? Is that what the fuck
yeah.
that chick was calling it?
That was a nightmare, whatever it was.
It's the mouth trumpet. The mouth trumpet was so good, I couldn't believe.
Decipher it from a trumpet.
My mom's in the chat. Hi, Mom.
About the girl I sent you on Instagram. It was an Instagram reel.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Sarah? No? If Sarah posted it to my page, it was a nightmare. If I posted it to Sarah, it was brilliant and wonderful.
I vaguely heard him say something about Sarah posting nightmares.
Yeah, well, he said he shared something with you on Instagram, whether or not you saw it. A woman who did something.
The mouth trumpet.
The mouth trumpet woman.
Oh, you posted a follow-up to the mouth trumpet woman?
No, I thought I posted to your thing, woman mouth, like it was like.
Because I would like to follow the mouth trumpet woman, like.
The fuck is a mouth trumpet?
Basically.
It's basically somebody going.
A mouth trumpet?
But it sounds like a fucking trumpet. I mean, like you can't believe that there's even a difference.
It's like orchestral. It's
like
really something.
Like artificial intelligence wouldn't know the
Pineapple
difference.
Express. When he starts doing the little fake trumpet when he's smoking the joint.
Who?
Times 100.
Pineapple Express. Remember that movie?
So
hell yeah.
Yeah, but like times a million. Like so good you can't believe it's not a trumpet.
All right, so
I can't believe it's not a trumpet.
We want the trumpet girl to be on the show real bad. Real bad. I think she'd do it. We're gonna get
Bring
the
her
trumpet
on.
girl. Yeah. And by the way, folks, anybody still watching? I know it's late. In 2 weeks, we will be on Twitch. I wanted to do that tonight, but we just ran into a Rick idiot wall, where I fucked something up, and that's all that it is. And I'm sorry, but I think I'm making the right decision by holding that off. I want things to be good when we do that. So
Rick owns like 5 Twitch accounts now.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't want to be ridiculous. I want to be Rick-tastic, Stones. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. Look, listen, we're going to call it a night, guys. I think we're going to call it a night. Where's my mouse? Oh, here it is. Good night, you guys.
Later.
I love you
Good
all.
night.
I see you.
All right.
Spot a black man out.
Thank you so much, Chill Smith, for being here tonight, dude. Thank you so much,
man. Awesome talk. We got some awesome talk today. Awesome talk, oh, awesome talk. You all like the way we talk. It's awesome, awesome talk, oh, awesome talk. You like the way we awesome talk. It's awesome talk, fucking awesome talk. You like the way we talk. It's fucking awesome. Ooh.